All right, let's jump into it. Where are we? 10:10 in the morning on what are we at? 20th of June at the moment. So Thursday morning. Um, Look, I'll start off with Aussie. Markets as a whole, not just with Aussie, but markets as a whole were pretty quiet overnight, mainly just sort of due to US bank holiday, Juneteenth or something. Something that sounds just incredibly American. The Juneteenth, whatever. It's probably some sacred day, but yeah, not quite 100% sure. But regardless, anyway, Aussie. Look, I'll start off on a weekly view because this really seems to be coiling for potential to move a little bit higher up to our first price target, which is sort of in the high ends of the 68s. Obviously, this is weekly time frame, so it's not going to happen tomorrow, but this is the idea that we've got this sort of long, sort of falling resistance, which we've respected a number of times. We had a little bit of an attempt to sort of get out, sort of like, end of last year. And of course, we all know what happened after that. Absolutely on a dime, bang, smack back down and gave back a lot of that one there. But we're outside this falling resistance and consolidating this time. This is one, two, three, four, five, sixth week of closes outside this sort of falling resistance. We do also have a little bit of this inverted head and shoulders with a nice little bottom squeeze. So if you go back and watch the videos, I mean, it's a way back now, but this was the retaliation from Israel to Iran, where they sort of did that sort of tokenistic kind of bombing. Um, this at the time I said, look, this is what Aussie does. And I started to put these little sort of circles around these things because I show these things each time. It loves to sort of set up these weekly supports, break them, trap people, and then squeeze. And, we've just ripped off since that side there. So, look, at the moment, still in this little consolidation patch and that. Look, I would like to see it above sort of, a close above 67. 67.20 or so would be a great close to the week, setting up for some nice sort of bullish momentum to see this sort of break up to the top side over here. And we've got this little sort of measured move that would sort of be coming back up into this sort of price area over here where we can see that sellers have been a couple of times before. So yeah, that's setting up nicely. Obviously, sort of broader view, but it's certainly bouncing back. And this is coming on the back of, the RBA leaning a little bit more on the hawkish side of things, and also, the Fed sort of again. No, I mean, I don't want to sort of commit to this to the idea that they're sort of moving more dovish and sort of coming on the cuts. They are moving more dovish because hikes aren't part of the conversation, but slowly, reluctantly, it seems almost coming around to the idea of cuts sooner rather than later. So that'll help sort of punch things through the second half of the year if this does play out. Of course, underneath 65, 65, 60. A break of these supports down here, well, okay, we'll have that conversation when that one happens. But for now, it's looking like a nice little consolidation period for another leg up to high 68s possibly over the summer. We'll have to sort of see how that plays out. But if we get down onto the lower time frames, onto the 1 hours here, actually, check onto this other Aussie chart. We can see that it's really sort of bounced back from this sort of drop down here. It's, as I said, overnight, really just flat. I mean, we had a nice little push through sort of Asia, nothing sort of super, but it was grinding up to the top side. We filled this wick. This one was the spike up from PPI a couple of weeks ago, where the numbers had come in, and this, remember, was just after CPI had been quite weak as well. PPI came in, Aussie spiked up. I mean, it was dollar weakness, but they obviously sort of decided to keep on ripping the dollar to the top side. And bang, we can see the outcome afterwards. So we've filled that wick. We've sort of seemed to have stalled here a little bit just for now. But as you can see, if you drag these things across here, these are pretty much known areas on lower time frames. They're not super significant levels, but you can see that the market, as it's been driving upwards each time, has kind of sort of halted around this area here. So I'm not really going to live too much off this one, so I'm going to get that out of there. But what we're sort of looking at now is a consolidation of the highs. We can put a little box around it and sort of see if we're going to get a little bit of a breakout. So I'll put it down on the bottom wicks. Look, you could probably sort of extend your stops down to just below 60, sort of mid 50s or so if you wanted to take a little bit more risk on with this one. Alternatively, if you want to be on the tighter side of things, you can obviously bring this up a little bit higher as well. So let's go break our box. But realistically, a close outside this box here, so a close outside, so mid 60s, or a close, sort of up into the 80s, I think will show the next sort of pile of sort of the next direction. We have seen sort of DXY just come online, small little gap down and immediately pushed up a little bit. So it's coming off a support area, two attempts down into its support area, which I'll show in a second, unable to sort of go down yet. So that's obviously making things a little bit harder, as they sort of buy the USD, and it is slowing Aussie a little bit. So I'm just having a look at the yuan at the same time. That has really been on a grind. And again, that's another thing that by proxy slows Aussie down a little bit. So we'll see how we go. Volume will come in about 45 minutes. We'll see if we get a break one way or another. Look, if we do break down, I imagine, maybe a little bit of a pull down, come down to around the 50s, and then maybe another swing up to the top side there. But in the immediate, if you want to see continuation, you want to see a push and a conservative push into and close into the 80s, at least on a 1 hour time frame. So yeah, a little bit of a push down now, but really it's just been in this kind of, this is five points there, but if you go down to 65 up to 77, 12-point range overnight, super, super tight. So yeah, I think sort of if we do get a close out the top side here, we're looking for a test up around that 67. As I said, there's some major breaks over here. So again, is the market ready for it? Because we know that these are going to be some pretty sort of significant areas if it could get up above here. So it's just stalling and waiting and thinking to see what the rest of the market's going to do till then. Okay, so DXY, as I said, sort of flip across here, we are seeing, and this is what I was talking about a moment ago, it's down into this support area. We had a big meltdown. This is from the retail sales the other night. Little sort of consolidation after the bounce, second attempt down. This close looked okay, because obviously, a couple of points down underneath this one here. But if you go back to the video I was saying the other day, you want to get underneath 105. 105 is a real sort of okay. Yep, bang, we're coming down, we're pushing down there. For the moment, technically, this is on a 1 hour, you have three higher highs. It doesn't mean anything really at this stage, because you could sort of almost sort of say that you got a bit of a sort of triangle. I'll give this a bit more room here. A little bit of a triangle moving this way. And generally with these kind of consolidation periods, you look for a continuation. They're basically stalling points. So you're moving down. So you look at the direction, you look at the direction that the market came into the consolidation. So in this case, coming in bearish, up, consolidates, up, down, super choppy. I mean, look, this whole area is really garbage. I mean, you just want to sort of go, here. That's the area you want to get outside. Yes, you got the triangle. Yes, it's getting sort of tight in here, but really it's just a sort of garbage area. You don't really want to sort of be doing too much trading when it's like this, as I saw with the Aussie. The Aussie's got a couple of different reasons because, it's pushing up off, a little bit more of a hawkish RBA. So it's helping things along, is it? But really you can see how it relates to those kind of markets as well. It's just sort of like, you can't get a good trade. So what you want to do is you want to see a break. You want to see it take out these wick lows to the downside here. So let's put this one, call it down here because that's our consolidation there. This alert will go across the top side of these wicks over here, and this could see a bit of a rally to push back up to maybe retest these areas over here on an upside move. I do think because of, as I said, the direction that it's come into it, this sort of up, down, it does favor things to then move to the downside there. What you'd be looking for with something like this, if you were to do it, would be something along these lines here of a measured move. That would bring you down about here, which would give us that'd be your measured move price target. Though in saying that, I think, as I said, once you're underneath 105, I think that opens up to a whole bunch of other things to sort of sell down a little bit further. However, just in this sort of context of this move through here, sell down consolidation, you look for that second drive down equal to the length of the drop and that would sort of give you your price target around the 104.80. So, it's not necessarily, okay, price target hit, boom, we revert all the way up here. But, if people are doing a sort of more sort of short, medium term trade, this is where they could be looking for some sort of profit taking, or maybe to, if they wanted to have another attempt at sort of getting long, this could be another effort for them as well. Not a big fan of this line. I'll get rid of that one. But yes, anyway, so that's where we're looking at for DXY. As I said, 11 o'clock, that'll be the volume hour. We'll sort of get a little bit more direction. Really, before that, it's just a little bit of back and forth. So there's nothing really too much to sort of to record at the moment. As I said, wait for these alerts to go off, and that'll give us a direction of which way we want to go next. Gold, really, again, consolidating. It loves this zone up over here. We saw this coming into Friday last week. And this is a good example of this. So like, you put it around here, call this area here. This would be your breakout box area, which I think I probably almost drew at the time, didn't I? Probably deleted it since then. And you can see market choppy, 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 choppy. Close out the bottom side of it, retest, and down. And of course, bang, 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 a couple of times, sort of flew around. So we're just seeing basically market replicate this again for a little while longer. Obviously, this is pushed on a little bit more than this one sort of was, but you can see that the price really likes to sort of value it and chop around here. I would have thought maybe getting up above this sort of falling resistance would have sparked things a little bit more, but again, I think sort of US markets closed overnight kind of really sort of slowed things down a little bit. So there wasn't really too many people at their desks to push things along. That can sometimes see quite strong moves because, it literally, for the same reason I just mentioned that you might see things not move, it could be the reason things that really do move because nobody's got that, nobody's there to stand in front of the move if it does sort of decide to sort of carry on. So look, I think again above sort of 35, which is what I've been mentioning. I think pretty much on the weekend video is what I called it. I said if we get above 35, for me, that's going to be pushing up here. The fact that now it's taken a little while to consolidate, really, it could move this price target down a little bit because you got a couple of things. You got the horizontal over here. You got the falling resistance. I think the falling resistance, obviously, at this stage now, I mean, you can just see it. It can't get to this level at the same time. If we got to push through here at the same time, that would have sort of given you that sort of confluence. Now that it's sort of decided to drop down, consolidate a little bit more, I do think we will get a bit of a reaction once it does come into contact with this big red line here, this falling resistance. Doesn't mean it's going to hold it though. It just sort of means that sort of that would be price target 1, that would be price target 2, and then we could sort of look, because once you're above these two here now, you're outside this falling resistance, you're up above this sort of horizontal area, still work to be done. 80s is your major breakout, so this level through here, that's your major breakout line above 80s over there. But it puts you, as I said, if you get past price target 1, price target 2, it starts to make you think, okay, let's have a conversation about that major breakout. And again, these things don't generally chop through in one go. So you may sort of see things sort of like, as I said, like with this whole thing may come here, price target, people sort of hit it, retest the top sides over here. Maybe that finds enough to sort of get up here. This again was a support. It was a resistance. It was a resistance. It's going to be a resistance again. It's not going to go straight through. But again, you could see a bit of a pullback, another push through, pull back, and then look, as you're sort of getting up here, maybe you can start to have the conversation about that major breakout. So this is a plausible sort of path for price to happen. Look, I mean, this is a general, very general idea. This could chop, 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 chop. I mean, as you can see, how much this thing loves to sort of consolidate. These little pullback areas could be an extended period, similar, if not longer, to something like this. It could be that. And then sort of it finds enough to break through. But this is the general flow idea. If this was to go through, how it may sort of come apart. And this is why you have multiple price targets. You got price targets along the way. So if it does decide to come up here and then this goes whoop down here, well, you're not sort of like, oh, why didn't I make any money off this? I waited and traded through this whole period, and then I just got stopped out for even or for a loss or whatever. So yeah, that's pretty much my sort of thinking with it. Look, again, if we break back below sort of 23, it's hard to sort of really sort of see what's going to be sort of happening too much with it all. We are kind of out of this triangle now, so I kind of feel the fact that it came out of it and didn't explode up almost makes it a little bit obsolete. But we'll have to sort of wait and see. I do think we do have a push up. Mid 50s were the price target, mid 40s now. I'll take a little bit off at mid 40s, hold a little bit for mid 50s, and then I'll sort of probably reassess things here because this pullback here, I think could come back down a little bit further over here. So I'd like to sort of bank in a little bit more if we do get an opportunity into those mid 50s. All right, flip across. So we've got copper. And copper sort of has broken out of this little descending channel that it was sort of moving along. Couple of things with this now, because we're in a little bit sort of no man's land. As you can see, yes, it came off the lows. It actually had a little bit, if we put this on, so I think it's a 4 hours watching this. No, maybe the daily. Little bit of a sort of negative divergence through here. Not a great, super strong one, but as you can see, it was pushing up a little bit here as price sort of dropped down here, and you can see the reaction over these sides here. So it's a bit hard to sort of gauge these with this stupid wick on top here. So these guys have kind of really stuffed their chart a little bit here by having that thing happen. Oh, it's disappeared on the lower time frames at least. But again, so where you're at the moment, you've come out of the downtrend channel. You had, and this is what I was saying yesterday, that sort of, as you pull away from the continuation of the channel, you start to sort of create this little wedge. And so this little wedge popped out to the top side here. But if we zoom out with this, we can see that really where it ran into is the underside of this major trend. So we've covered sort of, or I've covered copper a lot of times that it does like to do these kind of moves with trends. It'll sort of like, as you can see, here's a good example of it right here, actually. It's got the trend, it's trend, 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 bang, closed out the bottom side. Did that mean it was over? No. Pop back up, and then look at this, just jammed up a whole nother level. So, and going back, lower time frames over here. There was an example of this one here. I changed this because it moved after a while, but as this was sort of first moving up, I remember sort of going, okay, here we go. Here's support, support, support. I mean, there's 3 touches along this line. That kind of validates the line. Next one, bang, close down underneath. Looks technically like it's broken. And then bang, jams back up to the top side. So again, this is why I say it's important to sort of, trade a couple of markets and really get to know your markets and get to know how the price action works, because some things are very prone to doing little fake outs. This doesn't mean, like, I'm not saying that this is necessarily going to go bang and jam back up to the top side. I'm still long on copper, so I do believe that this will sort of move back up. However, you got to be aware that, just because it's broken this trend and closed out the bottom side, particularly with copper, doesn't mean it's dead. Yes, it came up into the retest, and as you can see, almost perfectly to the cent, sort of rejected back off there. But we'll have to sort of wait for a confirmation. If we come back down to the lows over here, I break these lows over here, I would say, okay, it's in trouble, because then it's a break, a retest, and a move to the downside. But as of now, close outside doesn't mean copper's dead. If we can move back up above 46 and 47, or 460, 470, however you want to call it, then we got sort of game on with it all. But yeah, at the moment, again, pretty flat. Just waiting for a break of the wicks of yesterday, or sort of taking out these lower wicks in the interim. Cool. And finally, just finish off with China, because I am seeing this just absolutely rip. So right up into a big sell area here. So we're getting into a bit of a pretty major kind of top end move here, because it's been going back to November, only twice up into this level here, and we can see the reaction the two times most recently that it did happen when it came into this area here. Though this has just been grinding, and it's weird because it's not super strong buying. You're not seeing big, massive. I mean, these bearish candles are quite large. These ones through here, I suppose this one bounced up here, and this one bounced up from the lows. So they are sort of buying it from the very lows. But once after that, it just grinds, drop, grinds, and then just really moving all the way through here. So I have seen some articles saying that the PBOC may be allowing it to go for a little bit of a wander. And in doing that, they're not going to allow it to sort of like really just explode off one direction or another. But as you can see, very gradually is it slowly grinding up. This is on 4 hours. So you can see it's really not grooving a great deal, but it is up into this area where we've seen things sell previously. Normally, I would say, as I do time and time again, things don't go through first time. And the fact that this was so far away from that period, from the last hedge, I would say it's kind of reset and this would be considered first touch into the area. So it's not like, okay, weekend, and okay, now this is the third touch going through because, this is going back to, you know, 2 months. Actually, hold on, mate, where is it? Yeah, here, 16th of April. So yeah, over 2 months since it's come up into this area. So if they're going to hold it, this is the area in which they're going to hold it. If you go above here, so we're going to put an alert on this one and call this one a major breakout. Because if it gets much above here, you're going to see it push right up, and then we can have to sort of go way back to really up, I guess, this kind of level over here is where we sort of dragging this across. And as you can see, that's a fair move for it. Like, because the one doesn't move a great deal. As you can see, through this period here, this represents 0.6%. And if it does a jump up to here, well, I mean, it's only 0.5% or so, but it is still a concise move to the top side. So yeah, we'll see. Waiting to sort of see what happens through this area here. Obviously, as this pushes up, it weighs on Aussie a little bit. So if we do get this push down here, that could be the fuel for the Aussie to sort of move on a little bit more. If this does break out to the top side, this could be giving Aussie a little bit of a shunt back into the sort of mid to low 66s while it sort of thinks about what it's going to do next. But yeah, certainly in a pretty sort of pivotal point at the moment. Quick look over onto the news. I don't think we've really got much on today. We had GDP out for New Zealand earlier, came in above expectations. We got a couple of bits of China data coming out in 45, 43 minutes or so, 42 minutes. Just looking to stay flat. So I'm not expecting really too much from this here. I guess the sort of the market moving stuff today would be the Swiss franc with their sort of monetary policy at this stage. It looks like they're holding. There is always the risk of doing a bit of a downside shock, but we will sort of see how that one plays out. Press conference afterwards, 6 o'clock. That's fine. BOE, they're coming out tonight as well. I don't really see anything that's sort of saying that they're going to be sort of cutting rates. Their inflation is way down. Like they're down at like 2%, which is amazing because that's the targets for people. So yeah, their CPI they seem to be on top of. And then we've got, of course, unemployment claims, US supposedly ticking down. Well, at least that's the expectation. And then the Philly Fed manufacturing index is supposed to be ticking up. So these two numbers here, unemployment numbers going down, the manufacturing going up, these would be slightly bullish for the dollar. So we'll see if that can sort of do anything to spark things along. But as I said, look, my feeling is the dollar's kind of in jeopardy at the moment. So possibly any strong data there will just be sold into. Actually, while I'm here, I'll just click across to where we are, which charts were we using these ones? Tick across to silver. So silver, as we can see here, is starting to rally up a little bit. I did a little short video yesterday, just sort of like covering this little area through here. Because we are in this sort of like, strong pullback area through here, but we are starting to grind back up to the top side here. So we've got some pretty interesting levels that we'll be coming into soon. Across the sort of just above sort of 30, 15, I think it'll be an interesting area to sort of see what the market decides to do. Because as we come up over here, we can see that this is that last rally attempt where they snubbed it down. But if you look on a smaller little section here, if we just sort of put out some zones here, we had a very tight little compression area through here, which we've actually broken out to the top side. So you would think now sellers at this level are happy to sort of relinquish it. So let's look up over here. This is where we'd be sort of looking for. As we know, this is previous sort of weekly high. So they're quite significant levels. We can see it's been support previously as well. So I expect sort of this push maybe to give another sort of 40, 50 points or so. Up into this area here. We're still inside this structure of this pullback. However, if we can sort of get above here, and again, these things don't go through in the first go, but if we can get up here, push back down, and then sort of push through, we could be seeing something a little bit better with silver sort of coming through soon. And if we sort of drag this out, we are seeing that we've really sort of come back to this main trend down over here. So as we sort of see this sort of rally a little bit further to the top side, we're going to start to get into a bit of a pointy area because this is going to give us a little bit of a triangle. And I think once this kind of triangle here sort of breaks, I don't really use these pictures here, but this kind of area through here, that's what I'm calling for the next direction on silver. So either we sort of break out and go to the top side here, we break down, take down the wicks down there, and then we'll see the next significant move. But, you know, this takes us to early July. So I'm giving this 2 weeks max, and I think we're going to see a next solid move in silver. All right, that's it from me.